The stars looked peaceful that morning. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the orbital defense station Aurora, drinking his coffee and watching Earth turn slowly below. The blue planet looked so calm and beautiful. Jake had no idea that everything was about to change. Far away in deep space, something moved between the stars. The Catherian Empire had sent their largest fleet ever toward Earth. 9,900 warships traveled through the darkness, carrying over 2 million alien soldiers. Their leader, Commander Zix Vorthak, sat in his command chair and smiled with his sharp teeth. The Catherians looked like tall gray lizards with 4 arms and bright yellow eyes. They had conquered 17 star systems already. Each time, the alien worlds gave up without a fight once they saw the massive Catherian fleet. Commander Zix Vorthak expected Earth to do the same. "Show me the target planet again," Zix Vorthak ordered his crew. A hologram appeared showing Earth and its moon. The image zoomed in to show cities, roads, and ships on the oceans. The Catherians had been watching Earth for months with their spy probes. "The humans are very primitive," said his second officer. "They barely have any space technology. Their weapons are simple nuclear bombs and chemical rockets. This will be easy." Zix Vorthak nodded. The humans reminded him of the Zelthians on Kepler 442b. Those aliens had also thought they were tough. Now they worked in Catherian mines. Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Hampton worked the night shift at the Deep Space Observatory in Chile. She was tired and ready to go home when her computer started beeping. The screen showed dots moving toward their solar system. At first, she thought it was an asteroid field. Then she counted the dots. "That can't be right," she whispered. Lisa ran the scan again. The computer showed the same thing. 9,900 objects were heading toward Earth. They were too big to be asteroids and too organized to be natural. Lisa's hands shook as she picked up the emergency phone. "This is Dr. Hampton at Deep Space Observatory," she said. "I need to speak to General Patterson right now. We have a situation." Within an hour, the phone was ringing in President Nathan Cross's bedroom. The president woke up and answered with a groan. "Sir, this is General Roy Patterson. You need to come to the Pentagon immediately. We have visitors coming." "What kind of visitors?" President Cross asked. "The alien kind, sir. Nearly 10,000 ships." President Cross was quiet for a long moment. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. The emergency meeting room filled up quickly. President Cross sat at the head of the table. General Patterson stood at a large screen showing the approaching fleet. Admiral Susan Blake, the head of Earth Space Defense, looked worried. "How long do we have?" the president asked. "Based on their current speed, about 6 days," Dr. Hampton said through the video link from Chile. "What are our defenses?" President Cross turned to Admiral Blake. Admiral Blake looked uncomfortable. 12 orbital defense platforms, 36 satellites with missiles, and 18 prototype fighter ships. We also have the Aurora station with Captain Morrison. The room was quiet. Everyone knew it wasn't enough. Earth's space defenses were designed to stop asteroids and space junk, not an alien invasion. "Sir," General Patterson said, "maybe we should try to communicate with them first, see what they want." President Cross nodded. "Send a message. Tell them we want to talk." On the Aurora station, Jake Morrison received new orders. His job was to try talking to the aliens. Jake was a former fighter pilot who had commanded the Aurora for 3 years. He was brave, but this was bigger than anything he had ever faced. The Catherian fleet was still 2 days away when they sent their message to Earth. The signal came through every radio, television, and computer on the planet. The alien voice was cold and mechanical. "Humans of Earth, I am Commander Zix Vorthak of the Catherian Empire. Your planet has been selected for conquest. You will surrender immediately. Lower your defenses and prepare for occupation. Resistance will result in the destruction of your cities and the enslavement of your people. You have 24 hours to respond." The message ended, and the world held its breath. President Cross called another emergency meeting. This time, leaders from every nation joined by video link. The room buzzed with worried voices in different languages. "We need to evacuate the cities," said the French president. We should negotiate, suggested the German chancellor. We fight, said the Russian president simply. President Cross listened to everyone argue. Finally, he held up his hand for silence. Admiral, Blake, what are our real chances? Admiral Blake sighed. Against 10,000 ships? Very low, sir. But we're not going to give up without a fight. Jake, President Cross said into his radio, this is your president. What do you think? Jake Morrison looked out at the stars where the alien fleet was, coming. He thought about his wife and 2 kids back on Earth. He thought about every human who had ever looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. Mr. President, Jake said, my grandfather fought in World War II. He used to tell me that sometimes you have to stand up to bullies even when they're bigger than you. These aliens think we're going to roll over and quit. I say we show them what humans are made of. The president smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Send our response, Captain. Jake opened the communication channel. His message went out to the alien fleet and to every person on Earth. Commander Zix Vorthak, this is Captain Ben Sullivan of Earth Defense Command. Jake had decided to use a false name to protect his family. We've heard your demands. Here's our answer. Come and take it. In his command ship, Zix Vorthak heard the human response and laughed. These primitives wanted to fight his mighty fleet. It would be fun to crush them. All ships, he ordered, proceed to Earth at maximum speed. Prepare for combat operations. The Catherian armada moved forward like a storm of metal and death. But they didn't know that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Earth was about to teach the galaxy a lesson about underestimating the human spirit. As the alien fleet drew closer, people around the world looked up at the stars. They were scared, but they were also angry. Someone had come to take their home. That was not going to happen without a fight. The Catherian fleet entered Earth's solar system like a black cloud covering the stars. Their ships were huge, each one the size of a city block. The metal hulls gleamed silver in the sunlight, and energy shields shimmered around them like soap bubbles. Commander Zix Vorthak stood on his bridge and watched his fleet spread out in perfect formation. Deploy scout ships to Mars orbit, he ordered. I want to see these human defenses up close. Back on Earth, Lieutenant Amy Carter worked in the war room under the Pentagon. She was 28 years old and the best tactical analyst in the military. Amy stared at the radar screens showing thousands of red dots approaching. Each dot was an alien warship. Dr. Hayes, Amy called to the old scientist sitting nearby. What do we know about their technology? Dr. Carl Hayes pushed his glasses up, his nose. He was 70 years old and had studied physics his whole life. The energy readings are incredible, he said. Their shields use some kind of quantum field we've never seen before. Tony Marsh, the chief engineer, looked up from his computer. Our missiles won't even scratch those shields. We need a new plan. Amy nodded and turned to the communication officer. Any word from our patrol ships near Mars? Captain Rivera on the Pioneer is reporting contact with alien scouts now, the officer replied. Near Mars, Captain Jack Rivera commanded a small research vessel called the Pioneer. It was not a warship, just a science ship with basic sensors. Jack watched 3 Catherian scout ships approach his position. This is Captain Rivera to any Earth forces, he said into his radio. The alien ships are beautiful but deadly looking. I'm recording everything I can. The Catherian scout scanned the human ship with bright blue beams. Jack's instruments went crazy trying to record the alien technology. His ship shook as the scanners hit it. Their shields operate on rotating frequencies, Jack reported. The energy pattern changes every few seconds. It's like they're switching radio stations. Commander Vex Tool, leader of the scout ships, studied the human vessel with amusement. The ship was tiny and weak-looking. Its metal hull was primitive, compared to Catherian technology. Destroy it, Vex Tool ordered. A green energy beam shot from the lead scout ship. The Pioneer exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Captain Rivera and his crew died instantly, but not before sending their recordings back to Earth. Dr. Carl Hayes watched the data from the Pioneer with excitement and sadness. Jack Rivera had died, but his sacrifice gave them vital information about the alien shields. The shields change frequency every 4 seconds. Dr. Hayes explained to Amy and Tony. If we can match that frequency and disrupt it, we might be able to break through. Amy studied the numbers. How do we disrupt their shields? Sound waves, said Dr. Helen Stone, walking into the room. She was a weapons engineer who specialized in sonic technology. We create the exact opposite frequency and broadcast it at their ships, like noise-canceling headphones but for energy shields. Tony Marsh started typing on his computer. We can modify our torpedo warheads to broadcast sonic disruptors, but we'd have to get very close to their ships. How close? Amy asked. Less than a mile, Tony said. That's almost suicide range. Meanwhile, more Catherian scouts destroyed 2 more Earth patrol ships. The aliens learned about human weapons and found them laughably weak. Nuclear missiles bounced off their shields like rubber balls. Laser cannons did nothing at all. Humans fight with primitive chemical explosives, reported Vex Tool to Commander Zix Vorthak. Their most powerful weapons cannot penetrate our weakest shields. Zix Vorthak smiled with his sharp teeth. Excellent. Begin the main attack. I want this over quickly. Back in the war room, Amy Carter coordinated with scientists around the world. Dr. Paul Grant in London worked with Colonel Kate Bennett at NORAD to build the first sonic disruptor weapons. They had less than 24 hours before the main alien fleet reached Earth. We're calling them resonance disruptors, Dr. Grant explained over video link. The theory is sound, but we've never tested them against actual alien shields. Amy looked at the tactical display. The main Catherian fleet was moving toward Earth, like a giant wall of death. Earth's small defense fleet was spreading out to meet them, but it looked hopeless. How many disruptors can we build in time? Amy asked. Maybe 50, Colonel Bennett replied. We're working as fast as we can. Captain Jake Morrison received the new weapons on the Aurora station. The resonance disruptors looked like metal boxes with spinning antennas. His crew loaded them into torpedo warheads while Jake studied the attack plan. This is crazy, said his weapons officer, Lieutenant Dan Cooper. We have to get close enough to touch them. Jake nodded. Sometimes crazy is all we've got. The Aurora's crew worked through the night preparing for battle. Engineers welded armor plates to their fighters. Mechanics loaded every available weapon. Dr. Lisa Hampton arrived from Chile with more scientists to help analyze alien technology. On the alien command ship, Zix Vorthak reviewed his battle plans. The humans had shown no special tactics or hidden weapons. This would be a simple slaughter followed by occupation. Prepare landing troops, he told his officers. I want soldiers ready to secure major cities once we destroy their orbital defenses. The Catherian soldiers were 8 feet tall, with thick armor and energy weapons. They had conquered 17 worlds and never lost a battle. Many of them looked forward to fighting humans who seemed like interesting prey. As the alien fleet approached Earth, people around the world watched the sky with fear and defiance. In New York, London, Tokyo, and Moscow, citizens looked up at the stars and wondered if they would see morning. Amy Carter hadn't slept in 36 hours, but she couldn't rest now. The resonance disruptors were humanity's only hope. If they didn't work, the war would be over in hours. All defense stations report ready, her communication officer announced. Amy took a deep breath. Signal the fleet. Operation Last Stand is a go. Captain Jake Morrison heard the order and felt his stomach tighten. He looked out at the approaching alien armada and thought about his children back on Earth. Then he turned to his crew. Today we find out what humans are really made of, Jake said. All ships moved to attack positions. The small Earth defense fleet moved toward the massive alien armada. 12 orbital platforms, 18 fighters, and a few dozen modified civilian ships against nearly 10,000 alien warships. It looked like the end of the world. But the humans had something the aliens didn't expect. They had the resonance disruptors, and they had the desperate courage of people fighting for their home. The battle for Earth began at exactly 800 hours. The massive Catherian fleet filled the space around Earth like a metal storm. Their ships gleamed in the sunlight as they moved into attack formation. Commander Zix Vorthak watched from his command bridge with satisfaction. Begin bombardment of their orbital defenses, he ordered. Green energy beams shot from hundreds of alien ships toward Earth's defense stations. The first target was Defense Platform 7, commanded by Captain Steve Walsh. The station's shields lasted only seconds before the alien weapons broke through. Platform 7 is gone, reported Lieutenant Amy Carter from the war room. She watched. The tactical display as red crosses marked destroyed human positions. But Captain Jake Morrison on the Aurora station was ready with humanity's secret weapon. The first resonance disruptor torpedo launched from his ship toward the nearest Catherian destroyer. The torpedo looked small and harmless compared to the massive alien vessel. The Catherian crew barely noticed the human missile approaching. There, shields had stopped thousands of similar weapons already. The torpedo struck the shield barrier and exploded in a shower of sparks. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien ship's shields began to flicker like a broken light bulb. The energy barrier twisted and bent as the sonic waves disrupted its frequency. Suddenly, the shields collapsed completely. "Now!" Jake shouted into his radio. 3 nuclear missiles hit the Catherian destroyer before its crew could react. The alien ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal pieces. It was the first enemy vessel to die. On the alien command ship, Zix Vorthak stared at his display in shock. The red dot showing his destroyer had vanished from the screen. "What happened to the Razor Wing?" he demanded. His sensor officer looked confused. "Sir, the ship's shields failed. Some kind of resonance cascade. Then the human missiles destroyed it." Zix Vorthak's yellow eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Our shields don't fail." But across the battle zone, more Catherian ships were losing their shields to the human resonance disruptors. Lieutenant Dan Cooper led a squadron of modified fighters in a desperate attack on the alien command ship. His small fighters dodged between the massive enemy vessels like insects around giants. "Stay close to their hulls," Dan told his pilots. "They can't hit us if we're too close." The fighters dove toward Zix Vorthak's command ship, which was the size of a small city. Defensive lasers tried to track the fast human ships, but they moved too quickly. Dan's fighter carried the most powerful resonance disruptor they had built. "This is for Captain Rivera," Dan whispered as he aimed at the command ship's main shield generator. The resonance charge exploded against the alien ship's shields like thunder. The quantum barriers flickered and died, leaving the massive vessel defenseless. Nuclear missiles from the Aurora station struck the command ship's engines and weapon ports. Zix Vorthak felt his ship shake as explosions ripped through the hull. Smoke filled the bridge and alarms screamed in the Catherian language. His mighty flagship was crippled by primitive human weapons. "Impossible," he snarled. "How are they doing this?" Dr. Helen Stone watched the battle from her laboratory on Earth. She was already working on improved versions of the resonance disruptors. The first weapons only worked for a few seconds, but that was enough. "The aliens rebuild their shields too quickly," she reported to Amy Carter. "We need longer disruption times." Amy studied the battle reports flooding her screens. Earth was losing ships, but so were the aliens. For every human vessel destroyed, 2 or 3 Catherian ships died. The odds were getting better. Tony Marsh had a new idea. He was working with captured alien technology from the destroyed scout ships. The Catherian power cores used quantum fusion, much more advanced than human technology. "If we can overload their power cores," Tony explained to Dr. Carl Hayes, "we can turn their own ships into bombs." Dr. Hayes looked at the alien technology with excitement. "Brilliant. We reverse the quantum flow and create a cascade failure." Captain Jake Morrison received the new weapons just as more alien ships attacked his position. The Aurora station was surrounded by enemy vessels, their green energy beams cutting through space like deadly rain. "Load the quantum disruption missiles," Jake ordered. His crew worked frantically as alien weapons hit their shields. The Aurora shook with each impact, but the old station held together. Jake watched the enemy ships closing in and waited for the perfect moment. "Fire everything," he commanded. The new missiles hit 3 Catherian ships at once. Instead of just breaking their shields, the weapons caused their power cores to explode. The alien vessels vanished in brilliant flashes of white light that could be seen from Earth's surface. The psychological effect on the Catherian fleet was devastating. These ships were supposed to be invincible. They had conquered world after world without losing a single vessel. Now they were dying by the dozens to primitive human technology. Dr. Sarah Kim worked with a team of engineers to create even stranger weapons. She had discovered that Catherian sensors couldn't track objects that phased in and out of normal space. "We call them ghost missiles," she explained to Amy Carter. "They exist in our dimension for only seconds at a time. The alien computers can't lock onto them." The first ghost missiles launched from Defense Platform 3. The weapons vanished and reappeared randomly as they flew toward enemy ships. Catherian defensive systems fired at empty space while the real missiles struck their targets. Commander Zix Vorthak watched his fleet status display with growing horror. Over 300 ships showed as destroyed or heavily damaged. The humans were fighting with tactics his empire had never encountered. "Sir," his communication officer reported, "Admiral Kex Volar requests permission to begin planetary bombardment. He says we should destroy their cities to break their will to fight." Zix Vorthak nodded, approved. "Show these humans what happens when they resist the Catherian Empire." 2,000 alien ships turned their weapons toward Earth's surface. Massive energy cannons charged up to destroy New York, London, Tokyo, and other major cities. The beams would kill millions of humans instantly. But Admiral Susan Blake was ready for this moment. She had worked with Colonel Joe Martinez to create something new with Earth's orbital defense grid. The platforms couldn't stop the alien ships, but they could do something else. "Activate the resonance field," Admiral Blake ordered. Every human, defense platform, satellite, and ship began broadcasting the same frequency at the same time. The combined sonic waves created a massive disruption field around Earth. When the Catherian bombardment beams hit the field, they scattered like light through a prism. The alien energy weapons became a beautiful light show in Earth's atmosphere. Green and blue streams of energy danced across the sky harmlessly. What should have been death rays became the most amazing fireworks display in human history. People on Earth's surface cheered as they watched the alien weapons fail. The bombardment that was supposed to destroy their cities had been turned into a symbol of human defiance. Zix Vorthak stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His fleet was being destroyed by a species that shouldn't even have spaceflight. These humans adapted and learned faster than any enemy he had ever faced. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked quietly. "Over 800, sir," his sensor officer replied. "And the losses are accelerating." For the first time in his military career, Commander Zix Vorthak felt something he had never experienced before: fear. These humans were not the easy prey his empire expected. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors who refused to give up. The war in space had been raging for 18 hours. Commander Zix Vorthak sat in his damaged command chair, staring at reports he couldn't believe. His mighty fleet was being torn apart by humans who should have surrendered immediately. "Sir, we've lost over 2,000 ships," his tactical officer reported with fear in his voice. "The humans keep creating new weapons we've never seen before." Zix Vorthak's four hands clenched into fists. The Catherian Empire had conquered 17 worlds without losing more than a dozen ships total. Now these primitive humans had destroyed a fifth of his invasion fleet in less than a day. "How is this possible?" he snarled. On Earth, Lieutenant Amy Carter coordinated the defense from her command center. She hadn't slept in over 30 hours, but coffee and determination kept her. Coursing in the tactical display showed something amazing. Humanity was winning. "Captain Morrison, what's your status?" Amy asked through the radio. Jake Morrison's voice came back from the rebuilt Aurora station. "We've got 15 new hybrid ships online. Dr. Kim's ghost missile technology is working perfectly." The Aurora had been transformed overnight. Human engineers worked with captured alien technology to create ships that were half human, half Catherian. They were faster than Earth vessels, but more creative than alien ships. Captain Nick Foster commanded the new hybrid fleet. His ship, the Defender, looked like nothing anyone had ever seen. Human armor covered a Catherian hull, while Earth computers controlled alien engines. "This is incredible," Nick reported. "We can match their speed and firepower now." Engineer Pete Collins had made the most dangerous discovery. He figured out how to overload Catherian quantum cores remotely. His weapons could turn enemy ships into massive bombs. "We're calling them cascade bombs," Pete explained to Amy. "One missile can destroy up to 5 ships if they're close together." Dr. Sarah Kim continued improving her ghost missile technology. The new version could phase in and out of normal space for over a minute. Alien sensors still couldn't track them effectively. "The Catherians are getting desperate," Sarah reported. "They're trying to adapt their sensors, but we're always one step ahead." The aliens were learning that humans had one advantage no other species possessed. They adapted incredibly fast. Every time the Catherians developed a countermeasure, humans invented something new. Admiral Susan Blake coordinated the orbital defense grid with Colonel Joe Martinez. They had turned Earth's satellites into a network of resonance amplifiers that could disable alien ships from thousands of miles away. "Target the enemy formation approaching the moon," Admiral Blake ordered. The satellites focused their combined resonance beams on 50 Catherian ships. The alien vessels' shields collapsed simultaneously, leaving them helpless against missile attacks. All 50 ships died in less than 2 minutes. Commander Zix Vorthak watched his fleet shrink on the tactical display. What had started as nearly 10,000 ships was now less than 6,000. The humans were killing his vessels faster than he could count them. "Sir?" his communication officer said nervously. "The High Command is requesting a status report." Zix Vorthak didn't want to answer that call. How could he explain that primitive humans were destroying the greatest fleet in Catherian history? The High Command would demand his execution. "Tell them communication is difficult due to human interference." He lied. The desperate alien commander decided to try something that went against all Catherian military doctrine. Instead of fighting with honor and formation tactics, he would use terrorism. "All ships," Zix Vorthak ordered, "target civilian population centers. If we cannot conquer them, we will make them extinct." 3,000 Catherian ships broke formation and dove toward Earth's surface. Their mission was simple: kill as many humans as possible. Cities, schools, hospitals, nothing would be spared. But Captain Jake Morrison had expected this move. He had studied the aliens for days and knew they would eventually abandon military honor for simple destruction. "All human forces," Jake announced, "initiate Operation Lighthouse." Operation Lighthouse was humanity's most desperate gambit. Every ship, satellite, and orbital platform would focus on creating a massive resonance field around Earth. The field would be so powerful, it could disable any alien ship that entered it. Dr. Helen Stone had warned that the plan was extremely dangerous. "The resonance field could destroy our own equipment too," she had explained. "It's like setting off an electromagnetic bomb." Amy Carter made the hardest decision of her life. Do it. Protect the cities at any cost. The resonance field activated just as the Catherian ships reached Earth's upper atmosphere. The invisible wave of sonic energy swept outward from every human installation simultaneously. Alien ships began falling from the sky like meteors. Their shields collapsed, their engines failed, and their weapons went dead. Over 2,000 Catherian vessels crashed into Earth's oceans and deserts. The humans had saved their cities, but the cost was enormous. Half of Earth's satellites were destroyed by their own resonance field. The orbital defense platforms were burning wrecks. Even the mighty Aurora station was badly damaged. But the plan worked. The Catherian bombardment fleet was gone. Zix Vorthak stared at his display in complete shock. He had just lost 2,000 more ships in minutes. His invasion fleet was down to less than 4,000 vessels, and the humans showed no signs of surrendering. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "the humans are rebuilding their defenses. They're using our own technology against us." Pete Collins and his engineering team worked frantically in the wreckage of the Aurora station. They were building new weapons from the debris of crashed alien ships. Human creativity combined with Catherian technology was creating things neither species had imagined. "We've got quantum torpedoes that can phase through their shields," Pete reported to Amy, "and cascade bombs that can destroy entire formations." Dr. Carl Hayes made another breakthrough studying alien power systems. "Their quantum cores are incredibly powerful," he explained, "but they have a fatal weakness. If we can disrupt the quantum field for just 1 second, the core becomes unstable. Amy Carter studied the new tactical information. The humans were no longer just surviving, they were becoming dangerous. Each hour of battle made them stronger and more creative. Captain Foster, Amy called to the hybrid fleet commander. Begin hunting operations. Find their supply ships and communication relays. The human hybrid ships spread out through the solar system like hunting wolves. They were faster and quieter than pure human vessels, but more innovative than alien technology. The Cytherians found themselves being stalked by an enemy they couldn't predict. Captain Nick Foster's ship, the Defender, found a group of alien supply vessels hiding behind Jupiter. The enemy ships carried fuel, ammunition, and spare parts for the invasion fleet. Ghost missiles locked on target, his weapons officer reported. The invisible missiles struck the alien supply ships before they could react. Massive explosions lit up Jupiter's night side as the Cytherian logistics fleet was destroyed. Zix Vorthak received the news with growing despair. First his attack fleet, then his bombardment ships, now his supply vessels. The humans were systematically destroying everything he needed to continue the war. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked quietly. "Less than 3,000, sir, and many of those are damaged." The alien commander faced a choice no Cytherian leader had ever confronted: retreat or extinction. His empire had never lost a war, never retreated from battle, but they had never fought humans before. As the battle continued into its second day, one thing became clear to both sides. The humans were not just fighting for their planet, they were rewriting the rules of warfare itself. Every tactic the aliens tried, humanity countered with something new and unexpected. The species that had seemed so primitive was teaching the galaxy's greatest empire what real innovation looked like. Commander Zix Vorthak stood alone on his ruined bridge, surrounded by smoke and broken computers. His mighty invasion fleet had been reduced to fewer than 1,000 ships. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated the greatest armada in Cytherian history. "Sir," his communications officer said with a trembling voice, "Admiral Kex Voller is requesting orders. His ship group is surrounded by human forces." Through the main view screen, Zix Vorthak watched human ships hunt his scattered fleet like wolves, chasing sheep. The human vessels moved with deadly purpose, no longer the desperate defenders they had been 2 days ago. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the rebuilt Aurora station, now the flagship of humanity's new space fleet. The station looked different than before, covered with alien armor and powered by captured Cytherian technology. "All human ships," Jake announced over the radio, "begin final phase operations. Show no mercy to invaders." The human fleet had grown during the battle. Every destroyed alien ship provided technology and materials for new human vessels. Engineers like Pete Collins worked around the clock, turning wreckage into weapons. Dr. Sarah Kim's latest creation was the most terrifying yet. She called them Hunter missiles, weapons that could track fleeing ships through hyperspace itself. The missiles used modified alien sensors to follow enemy vessels wherever they ran. "The Cytherians are trying to escape," Dr. Kim reported to Lieutenant Amy Carter, "but our Hunter missiles are following them through every jump." Amy studied the tactical display from her command center. Red dots showed Cytherian ships scattered throughout the solar system. Blue dots marked human forces closing in for the kill. After days of desperate defense, humanity had become the hunter. Admiral Susan Blake coordinated the pursuit from Earth orbit. The planet's orbital defenses had been rebuilt with hybrid human-alien technology. The new platforms were 10 times more powerful than the original versions. "Target the enemy command ship," Admiral Blake ordered. "End this war." Captain Nick Foster's hybrid ship, the Defender, led the attack on Zix Vorthak's flagship. The alien command vessel was massive, but it was alone and badly damaged. "Ghost missiles away," Foster reported. The invisible weapons struck the alien ship's engines and weapon systems. Explosions ripped through the Cytherian flagship as its remaining shields collapsed. Zix Vorthak felt his ship dying around him. "Sir," his tactical officer gasped, "we've lost main power. Weapons are offline. The humans are preparing to board us." Zix Vorthak looked at his remaining fleet on the display. Scattered groups of ships were being hunted down by human forces across the entire solar system. Many had already been destroyed trying to escape. "Send the retreat signal," he said quietly. "All surviving ships, withdraw to hyperspace immediately." The order went out to what remained of the Catherian invasion fleet. Less than 200 ships were still capable of fighting. The rest were dead, crippled, or already fleeing into deep space. But the humans had one final surprise. Dr. Paul Grant and his team had cracked the secret of Catherian hyperspace technology. Human ships could now follow the aliens wherever they went. "Pursuit ships away," Amy Carter announced from her command center. 30 human vessels jumped into hyperspace after the fleeing Catherians. These ships were the fastest humanity had ever built, powered by alien engines and guided by human determination. Captain Steve Walsh commanded one of the pursuit ships. His vessel, the Vengeance, was built entirely from captured alien technology. It could match any Catherian ship for speed and outfight them with human tactics. "Contact," Walsh reported as his ship caught up to a group of fleeing aliens. "Engaging enemy formation." The battle in hyperspace was unlike anything either species had experienced before. Ships fought while traveling faster than light. Weapons, firing across impossible distances between dimensions. One by one, the fleeing Catherian ships were destroyed. Human hunters showed no mercy to the invaders who had come to conquer their world. The chase continued for hours across multiple star systems. Commander Zix Vorthak's damaged flagship limped through hyperspace with 18 other badly wounded vessels. They were all that remained of the mighty armada that had set out to conquer Earth. "Sir," his sensor officer whispered, "the humans are still following us." Behind them, Captain Walsh's pursuit fleet continued the hunt. The humans had learned to track ships through hyperspace using modified alien sensors. There was nowhere for the Catherians to hide. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from several ship commanders. They want to give up." Zix Vorthak's yellow eyes blazed with rage. "No surrender. We are Catherian warriors." But his fleet was already breaking apart. Ship after ship was destroyed by relentless human pursuit. The few survivors scattered in all directions, hoping to escape the deadly hunters from Earth. After 3 days of running, only 18 Catherian ships remained. They were battered, almost out of fuel, and completely demoralized. The crews who had been so confident about conquering primitive humans were now terrified of them. "Sir," his navigation officer said, "we're approaching the border of Catherian space. The humans seem to be turning back." Zix Vorthak looked at his tactical display. The human pursuit ships were indeed stopping at the edge of their solar system, but their message was clear. They would defend their territory with deadly force. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Aurora as the last alien ships disappeared into deep space. Earth hung below them, blue and beautiful and safe. The invasion was over. "All ships," Jake announced, "return to defensive positions. Maintain patrols of the outer system." Dr. Helen Stone joined him on the bridge, carrying a report about captured alien technology. "Jake, we've learned incredible things from their ships. Our technology will advance by decades in just months." Amy Carter arrived from her command post, exhausted but victorious. "The casualty reports are coming in," she said. "We lost 60% of our original fleet, but we saved Earth." Jake nodded solemnly. The victory had cost many lives, but humanity had survived its first contact with hostile aliens. More importantly, they had proven something to the galaxy. Earth was not helpless prey. Humans could adapt, innovate, and fight with a ferocity that shocked their enemies. Any alien species considering invasion would have to think twice now. On the remnants of his flagship, Commander Zix Vorthak prepared his report to the Catherian High Command. How could he explain that nearly 10,000 ships had been destroyed by a species that barely had spaceflight? "Begin recording," he told his communications officer. "High Command, this is Commander Zix Vorthak reporting on the Earth invasion. The operation has failed. The humans possess unknown defensive capabilities and adapt at an impossible rate. They turned our own technology against us and created weapons we could not counter. He paused, thinking of the 18 damaged ships that were all that remained of his mighty fleet. Recommendation: Earth is to be classified as a forbidden world. Any contact with the human species should be avoided. They are not the primitive civilization we expected. They are something far more dangerous. The message was sent toward Catherian space, carrying news that would shock the entire empire. The unconquerable fleet had been conquered. The invincible armada had been destroyed. On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison broadcast a message to the galaxy on all known alien frequencies. This is Earth Defense Command. We are humanity, defenders of the third planet from the Star Soul. We did not seek conflict, but when threatened, we will fight with everything we have. We remember those who attack us. We remember those who help us. Earth endures. Earth protects its own. The message traveled across space, reaching dozens of alien civilizations. Some had been planning their own invasions of the primitive human world. Others had been considering peaceful contact. All of them now knew that humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy, and more importantly, they were no longer helpless. The 18 surviving Catherian ships limped home carrying the news that would change galactic politics forever. Earth had announced itself to the universe not as victims, but as protectors of their world. The humans had won more than just a battle. They had earned respect through strength and innovation. The galaxy would never underestimate them again.